Ebonyi, Enugu, including our other brothers that are on the other side of the geographical zone of the country that are also Igbos. Unfortunately, like I said ab initio, the Onye and Nwanne concept appears to have been lost because these days a whole lot of things have changed. While I emphasize on the concept of Onye and Nwanne, let me also begin this brief presentation by first letting us know about who is Onye Buchimba. Onye Buchimba, briefly, is born and brought up here in Enugu State, Uzuwani precisely. Onye Buchimba, the only child of his late parents. Onye Buchimba was not born blind, but by the provisions of nature, will I say unfairness of nature, I saw myself in the disability world. At the age of 11, by children playing, I lost my first sight, as in my right eye. And by that play, a whole lot of things began to manifest in my life, knowing the family I came from as such poor family background and being the only child. Unfortunately, the poor parents couldn't change anything because that saw me through, you making use of my one eye. I finished up my primary education, was taken to Lagos as Igbo man now, pure typical Igbo man, Igbo boy. While in Lagos, I had another incident that a colleague also slapped me on the remaining eye, and that brought about the closure of both eyes. That particular slap that happened in Lagos in 1996 and happened again in 1998 August was on a different occasion by different individuals. And in the year 2000, Onye Buchimba, after armed robbery attack that nearly took my life in Lagos in a shop, I told my master that I need to go home. For a living dog, the Bible says, better than dead lion. I returned back home, meeting my poor parents. My mother, in particular, seeing me return back home blind, was shocked and fainted. And that shock, after 5 years, she passed on. My father also passed on. Onye was left alone in the house. You know, people come in, if you want to eat, come to my house. If you want to drink water, come to my house. A reverend father took me to intervene and took me to special school Ojiriva. That was the turnaround to my life, because by then, I actually felt I was the only blind person. But getting to Ojiriva special education made me to begin to see life in another dimension. I not only saw other fellow persons with visual impairment, but began to gather the courage that in spite of this so-called visual impairment, blindness, I can still make it, and I can still make it. One thing that also inspired me was that there was a time on Radio Nigeria that I do listen to radio very well, and there was this program called You Can Make It. I don't miss that program. I don't joke with that program. I continue to listen to that program, and it continued to inspire me. And here am I today, from OG to CIC, from CIC to College of Education to Nnamdi Azikiwe University, and counting. Onye is still standing, and this is not the peak. So why are we saying all this? We are saying all this because somebody somewhere desires that inspiration. Somebody somewhere may be down, thinking that all hope is gone. If you are here and you know a boy, a girl, a child with disability, any form that is down there in the different families, maybe the family may have been hidden and hiding that child. Go and tell them that there is hope in every disabled child or in every physically challenged child. Go and tell that family to bring out their child, that child can still be useful, not only to himself, not only to the family, but to the society. So I want to say that I would like to introduce us to international documents that speak to the dignity of man, that speak to the inclusion of one another in state and societal affairs. Unfortunately, it appears we have a whole lot of documents and policies that were never implemented and that have not really solved the problems of man, including, particularly persons with disabilities. If you talk of United Nations rights on persons with disabilities, the Convention of UN on rights of persons with disability, it speaks on three key concepts: accessibility, participation, and inclusion. And if you are to bring it down to Igbo, how is that accessibility in our own society? How is that participation in our own society? How is that inclusion in our own society? I understand the fact that disability law sometimes, a few years ago in Nigeria, appears to become the order of the day. But like I said also, we have too many policies, too many documents, but the problems appear to be on the increase, unsolved. Lamentations, issues affecting persons with disabilities on the rise without much attention given to it. And one is beginning to ask a different question: what is the problem? There was a time we thought disability law, absence of disability law in Nigeria has become the problem. But we had disability law 2018. This is 2025. About 23 states or more in Nigeria have actually domesticated this law. And Southeast in particular, Abia has done theirs. Disability Commission is ongoing, running. Anambra has also done theirs. The commission is running. Imo State has also passed and signed into law, waiting for the Disability Commission to come on board. Ebonyi State has also done theirs, waiting for governor's assent to the law, to the bill for it to become a law. Enugu State also did theirs in 2023. And then 2 years down the line, there is nothing to show about the much desired Disability Commission. And we're asking, what other measure, what other approach can we begin to adopt to get not only the attention of the state actors, but also you and I in the society, but also the market women, but also the religious leaders, for us to collectively know that we are talking about Ebebere Ugobere. Onye na Nwanne ya. Onye na Nwanne ya concept in United Nations, they call it Operation Leave No One Behind. Leave no one behind is a slogan from UN. And we're asking that question. In Nigeria today, Southeast as a region, Ali Igbo, how far are we? Where are we in all of these? Is it that we are to leave the aspect of the laws? What stage are we currently? The state actors appear not to be giving a listening ear to disability matters. The followers appears not to be giving a listening ear to disability matters. How do I mean? Every society, Nelson Mandela said that every society is measured by the way and manner such society regards and treats issues affecting the vulnerable. Our political leaders today, appointments 2 years down the line, too many appointments have been made. Commissioners, SSAs, this and that. In Enugu State and the whole of Igbo, how many persons with disabilities are there? Policies are being made. How many persons with disabilities are there speaking? Like I said, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities focuses on three key concepts: accessibility, participation, and inclusion. How accessible is our government house here? Assuming I walk into the government house now, even to see, as a citizen, bona fide one for that matter, to see my leader, how accessible. Not to talk of the public infrastructure that we do see, houses built here and there that which here users cannot in any way access nor enter. Too many questions begging for answer. Participation is far-fetched, not to talk of inclusion. But we will continue to cry this cry. If you read that of African Charter on Rights, on Human Rights and People's on Human and People's Rights, 1981, it also emphasizes on three key concepts of dignity, equity, and justice. And that same question is, being asked: where is the dignity of man in Igbo land? Where is the equality that man desires in Igbo land? Echem na ndị Igbo na-ekwu okwu na-asị n'eme onye ka emere ibe ya, obi adị ya mma. How can we now get to the leadership ladder and then you forgot the fact that name will be Sepota? There is no family or no village here that will tell me they have no child or no single man or woman with disability. Over 25 million persons with disabilities are in Nigeria today. More than them. Like that's why I said over. And then if we are to break that 25 million down to states, how much do you think should be the quota of Enugu and Igbo in particular, in general? In a civilized society, the number of persons with disabilities in Enugu state alone can vote in or vote out a governor. If in a sane and a society where things work the way it's supposed to work, the number of individuals with disabilities can determine who governs a state. But here in this part of the world, the reverse is the case. In the ongoing voter registration processes, what are the plans to capture these individuals? What are the mechanisms put in place for the interest of this? In fact, myself standing here personally, I've reached out to Enugu INEC office on how to deliberately plan for how persons with disabilities could be brought into the region. And the feedback I got after some days or weeks was to tell them to return back to their various local government areas. Yet, in INEC office, we have a disability desk. So this calls for worry. And when we talk of all of the concepts where international treaties and charters about human rights and persons with disabilities focuses on, that of National Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Law of 2018 also speaks to the dignity and rights of individuals with disabilities. But the question now is, how much are we enjoying those rights as provided? Like we were sharing before coming on stage, I remember some of us following up that of Enugu State Disability Laws passage in 2023, and you can hear some of our representatives, honorable men, saying, no, Honorable Speaker, this document is a white man document. Our environment is entirely a different thing. In fact, Honorable Speaker, the way I look at this document, it cannot sell here. Our environment is totally a different one from that of a Igbo man. It's a different one from that of Oyibo, but the phone we are using is not a different one from that of Oyibo. The vehicle we are driving is not a different one from that of Oyibo. The plane we are entering is not different from that of Oyibo. Every other thing, the mansions and the monies we are packing and making are not different from that of the white men. But when it comes to matters affecting a certain segment of the society, it becomes Oyibo man property. We are preaching sustainable development goal as the SDG provides from 1 to 17 all over Igbo. Tell me one of it that is functional, targeting individuals that all of these policies and programs were meant for. From that of zero hunger, from that of zero poverty, from that of quality education, from just name them, from that of accessible and a decent workplace and all that, none. And that is why I keep talking about our leader who is seated here, a boss I respect so much, Sir David Daniele, who in years past when he was, traveling all over the country, Enugu was one of the states where he implemented his programs. And that was part of the capacity that gave us this voice you are hearing today. That was what actually opened our eyes. He said that days of charity are gone. We cannot continue to live in charity. Charity has not changed my life, because give me 100,000 naira today, I will spend it tomorrow. And then I will return back next tomorrow to ask for more. But teach me how to get that 100,000, I will make a way to be getting it for myself and for my family. Who says that a person with disability does not deserve a life of dignity? You went to the primary school, I went to the same primary school. You went to secondary school, I went to the same secondary school. You went to higher institution, I went to the same higher institution. And then we came out to struggle for opportunities. Who do you think will have that better edge? It is a call for our governors in Igbo land to begin to be intentional on disability matters, no longer charity, not pity, not sympathy. It is all about empathy. Look at yourself. Think if you are the one. Put yourself in my shoe. Anyone seated here or standing here under the sound of my voice, close your eyes. Just try to close your eyes within a minute or two. If you wouldn't mind, walk around closing your eyes. Ask yourself, how do you feel closing your eyes to navigate? If you can find a wheelchair, find it and practicalize it. Use wheelchair to move around. You feel it and know how it pains, it pinches. If you are hearing, find something and close your, as in, just put up your two ears, and then know whether you can hear and hear well. These are some of the practical ways of getting to know what others are feeling. In public infrastructure provisions, no state in Igbo land is intentional in making our roads accessible for individuals with disabilities. That is what accessibility is all about. You can say you build 10 kilometers of road in your tenure, but how accessible are those roads? How accessible? Can a wheelchair user navigate through the same road? Can a blind man or woman, a blind child? I am using this word for us to understand this language. Otherwise, you know that UN and the international standard says visual impairment, hearing impairment. But I discovered that in this part of the world, until you use a raw phrase or phrases, people will not get to know you. Like in Atensoka some months ago, I was in a bike, and the police officer stopped us, asked us to park. I said, sir, please, can you allow us to? I'm a special person. And he said, come on, go and park there. Special person. Who told you? Are you the only special person in Nigeria? I mean, to be a special person. Go and park there. I told the Okada guy, please go and park. And then we parked. By the time the police officer later met us and said, show me this. I said, oh, God, I think I pleaded with you to allow us go, that I'm a special person. You know, I'm blind. And then he said, hey, now you are talking. You should have told me that you are blind and you are telling me special person. So that is the situation we are in. I got admitted into one of the tertiary institutions in the state. And you know what? During the first semester, I wrote to the management of the school for them to approve a copper or any one of their choice to come into the exam hall and read question papers to my hearing while I make use of my typewriting machine. Second in command, after reading my letter, queried why I was admitted into that school. Who admitted a blind person in this school? How did I get here? By that time, Onye of today, well, you know, life they say is in stages. If it is today, I would have helped him to, you know, get to the other side. But I still thank God that while he was, you know, querying my admission, another lecturer came in and then told him, Oga, hey, you don't know that there is a policy called inclusive education policy that allows these people to school at any school of their choice, be it primary, secondary, or tertiary, so long as they can, you know, fit in. It was then after that he now said, okay, no problem. And then what the man did was, during every exam, he will enter into exam hall and come and stand on my side. He will stand to be watching and know the possibilities in impossibility. But to God be the glory, man was proving wrong. I didn't only graduate from that school as just normal, but I graduated in a very clean sheet. So that is ability and disability we are talking about. Well, we that are in disability world, we are not such persons that will graduate and begin to ask, where is your certificate? If you need my own, I can publish it. I know of a colleague at UNN who walked into a lecturer class, room where the lecture was ongoing while he came in. The lecturer asked him one derogatory question. Where are you from? He said, I'm coming from outside the school. From outside the school? I said, yes, sir. Who and who did you see at the gate while coming in? The man responded, I saw people selling this, selling that, standing, doing this. He said, no, there are other categories of individuals that is at the other gate. I need you to mention them. The guy continued until he mentioned those that are begging. I saw those begging at the gate. The lecturer now responded, yes, that is why you're supposed to belong. This is more than disability itself. This is more than disability itself. The attitudinal change of the society is very much important and paramount to what we advocate for. Inclusive and Igbo can only be possible when you use phrases that promote the dignity of man to individuals with disabilities, knowing that what is good for the goose is also good for the gander. It can only be possible when we begin to feel the pains of one another. I want to appreciate the media, Enugu media houses. So many of them are doing wonderfully well supporting persons with disabilities, giving us voice. But we need more, like Oliver Twist. We need stations that will take up disability matters as a steady program on radio. So that our society will begin to know what they never knew. Sometimes I also know. I must not also forget the fact that some act in ignorance. Some actually do not know what they are doing. Just like Jesus will say, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing. We understand that side. But Onye nakuzi wetanti kemota, because learning is not only in the classroom. When you see me standing on the way to, flag down any vehicle or keke rider going to any part of Enugu, many times if I'm to share the experiences that persons with disabilities face, you will cry. And that is why we say it is not by sympathy, it is by empathy. Join us. Take up this matter as part of your work. Speak on behalf of the vulnerable, the weak. Let the strong carry the weak. Let's continue this journey together. We need one another. I will stand on the way to, I'll come out early in the morning going to work or going to any place. I may end up going late because why? The keke riders will see me. The moment they notice that I'm a person with a visual impairment, the person will zoom off. Hey, I can't carry this person. If you're on wheelchair, the person, if you ask them, they will say, hey, how can I be carrying person on wheelchair? Is that what I came out for? Forgotten that same thing that happened to that mama, that papa, that boy or girl can happen to anybody. It is not me tomorrow, it can be me tomorrow. I mean, it is not me today, it can be me tomorrow. The message is clear. I want to emphasize more and round off by saying that a call to Enugu State Disability Commission is no longer, it has become a matter that should no longer be postponed. We call on Enugu State Government, we call on Ebonyi State Government, we call on Imo State Government to implement and inaugurate the Disability Rights Commission of their various states. And by crying the cry of each other, we will have an inclusive and Igbo that will serve the interests of all, irrespective of ability or disability. I will end here for the purpose of time. God bless us all.
My thoughts around the topic today, I must commend Onyebuchi Festus for opening our eyes on key issues, leaders coming here to participate in conversations that has to do with our people. When I saw the likes of Professor Chido Denkalo, Chidenye Mbozubu, who is more or less my colleagues in government, and other eminent personalities coming here to lift our mind on some of the things we need to understand. So, in here, I know Nahem Nabi Kubwa, Ngabole Kamkwangwa. I'll be leading us to understand where I'm coming from. Ibem Shinabia. In here, Onyibo, when disability now, when disability occur, what we experience. In Isi Okwu and my disability may the kind of hurdles we struggle with as people with disabilities. Iwu ndenke aikwesiri ima onyebuchi ebutukule ono some of the laws that has to do with people with disabilities. I will only be sharing with you Kamsi Meje, Abia State. Then nga agbalịkwa ihe nwere ike iji hụ na nkọwakwa ihe anyị kwesịrị ime as ụmụ Igbo, a kind of recommendations why we have these conversations. Permit me to state here that everything I'm going to say is my personal opinion. It has nothing to do with the office I occupy, I've occupied before, but personal experience, because as they told you, I'm a political appointee and I work with government. Ladies and gentlemen, disability is real. Disability can occur at any time. As we are sitting here, someone, somewhere, is losing either his eyes, his ear, or his limbs. If you want to understand what I'm talking about, you can go to orthopedic hospital here. You will see people, either their hand is up or their leg is up. You can see other people who are struggling with the part of their body. So it has nothing to do whether I'm rich. In fact, the more rich you are, the more vulnerable. You can suffer diabetes, and diabetes can amputate your 2 legs or your 2 hands. The more poor you are, the more susceptible you are to acquiring disability. So if you are poor, you will face disability. So when we talk about inclusive Igbo, we are looking at to what extent do we accommodate everybody, whether you have disability or not. I don't know much about disability until you had a part of it when I lost my 2 hands in Freetown, Sierra Leone. I'm a businessman. I started life as a clearing and forwarding agent in Port Harcourt. I did clearing. From clearing and forwarding, I started exporting. I was exporting to Angola, to Rwanda, to Sao Tome and Principe. I was also exporting to far South Africa, Mozambique. Then later, I also started investing in business around West Coast. West Coast is from Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Senegal, Burkina Faso, and all the rest, because I enjoy export. Export is like when you do pound 1 from 10. You know, when you export, they pay you in dollar. By the time you get back to Nigeria, if you change it with the current exchange rate, you'll be smiling. In those days, the exchange rate was $1 to 18 naira. So when you know what it means, you do export. When you come back to Nigeria, you are happy. So if you can do once in a quarter, if you can load 1 container load of goods and you export it, you're okay for the quarter. So export was good for me. So I decided to invest in West Coast. Unfortunately, the RUF rebels, they were fighting to overtake the government. They captured me because of my identity as a Nigerian. And in the course of the interrogation, they decided they are going to cut off my 2 hands. I begged them. I said, go to my warehouse, go to my residence, anything you like, just take. But don't cut my hand. But they told me that the instruction was that any Nigerian found in this place must be killed. Better still, the 2 hands must be chopped off. So while I was arguing, negotiating for them to release other Nigerians that were captured within my area, they came and said the instruction was that my 2 hands must chopped off. So they asked me to position my hand in a stool. That same stool and the knife has been used to cut other people's hands in my presence. One of them is Benedict Ebuna. He's from Anambra State. And Emma Ebuna. They are all my friends. And Benedict did not survive it. Benedict died on the spot. But Emma also survived like me. But my own was more severe. So when they cut my left hand, I said, how much do you want? Let me buy the right hand. I don't want you to cut my right hand. They said, no. That the instruction is that my 2 hands must be chopped off. So I started begging. While I was begging, the rebels, about 14-year-old boy, cocked the AK-47 and wanted to open fire on me. I said, okay, you can cut the right hand. So I gave him the right hand. I put it in his stool. They cut it and cut it and cut it. So as I was crying and shouting, I was calling on God to help me. One of the rebels came to me and said, why did I call God here? That we don't call God here. So they brought fuel and poured on me and set me on fire. So while the fire was blazing, the commander came and said, who set me on fire? They should remove the fire, they should off it. And the instruction is that I should go and tell the ECOMOG commander, who is a Nigerian, General Maswell Kobe, that they should leave Nigeria, leave Sierra Leone, that Sierra Leone is not for Nigerians. So as I was moving from that place, as I was going, they pour water, they remove off the fire, then I started walking along Waterside Junction. It was there that the UN contingents came to rescue me. The Nigerian contingent of ECOBOG cleared the way, captured the area, and I was asked to move me. And from there, they moved me to Connaught Hospital in Freetown, where I was given first aid. The Nigerian contingent of ECOBOG came, and they lifted me and took me to ECOBOG Hospital, where I was treated. Then they brought their aircraft called Charlie, and they brought Charlie. I was evacuated with Charlie with a helicopter, flown back to Lunga Airport, from Lunga Airport to Yaba, Lagos. That was on the 3rd of February, 1999. And I was in the whole of 1919, that's February to August, I was being treated at the military hospital Yaba. I was confirmed stable, August 30th, and I was discharged. Discharged to face the reality. Discharged to see how it means to be a person without hands. So everybody believed that the future is bleak and nothing good will come out of me again. The moment I got back to Aba, where I was raised, where we live, stigma, discrimination, isolation was activated. So I was like, how am I going to do? How am I going to live life? How am I going to overcome the stigma of disability? My friends, when they see me, because we live in a first floor, when they see me, they will pass the other way so that they will not see, interact with me. Sometimes when guys are drinking in the bar, they will be discussing me. And when I'm coming, people will put their hand in their pocket to look for money they will give to me. So immediately I was classified as a beggar. But something happened. I was writing to different governments, asking for support. I wrote to Abia State government. My request was rejected. I wrote to Enugu State governor. All the governors in the eastern states of Nigeria, I wrote to all of them, asking for support. Because my case was televised in the television. People were listening to it. It was being read everywhere. And guess what? Nobody cares. Nobody was interested in my story. So, what I did was it got to a stage, it was affecting my mental health. So I had to leave Alibo. I have to leave Alibo and move to Lagos. On getting to Lagos, the governor then of Lagos State, his name is Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He was the governor of Lagos State. The same letter I wrote to my governor, I sent it to him, and he replied me and asked that they should conduct medical examination on me and advise him. So the doctors in Lagos State, they called me, they said, His Excellency, I should come. I came, they examined me, they looked at my condition, they asked me questions, and they wrote back to the governor and told him that I need to be evacuated to Germany for medical treatment. Ladies and gentlemen, I must thank the government and good people of Lagos State for rehabilitating me. If there is anything good in me today, beyond my family, it is Lagos State. I must tell you the truth. Alibo is the most hostile place to live with disability. Yes. We go to church, but we don't know church. Yes. We pray to God, but we don't know God. Alibo. If you're a person with disability, if you want to marry somebody without disability, it's a task. You can't. They are the sister of the person you want to marry will say no. In fact, our stigma stands from our sisters and our mothers. If your mother accepts you or your sister accepts you as a person with disability, the whole world will accept you. If your sister rejects you or your mother rejects you, the whole world will reject you. What helped me was that my mom and my sister accepted me, and they keep pushing me to where I am today. The question is, why am I here standing talking? I didn't mean to come. When I came back, I was flown to Germany, Ottobock, where my artificial hand was fixed. My artificial hand was fixed. It was people that contributed the money. They did a fundraising for me. And they got the money. I was flown to Ottobock. the hand was fixed. So when I came back, I discovered what it means to live with disability in Nigeria, or to be a person with disability. I was like, what can we do to help other people with disability, for them to recuperate, get rehabilitation, and start to live a better life? That's how we founded an organization called Amputees Rehabilitation Foundation, because we believe that charity, or through medical, that we can be able to support people with disabilities. And we tried it and tried it. It was the most difficult thing to do, because the bulk of the Constitution says the welfare of security and welfare of the citizen is the purpose of government. The citizens individually may find it difficult, and the right of people with disabilities were grossly abused. Nobody cares. Even the civil society group do not understand their role and responsibility in protecting people with disabilities. It was while I was interfacing with Amputee Rehabilitation Foundation, I was engaging with the mainstream civil society organization using CNO as a point of contact, that the likes of late Chimobane, Professor Chido Nkalo, late Innocent Chukwuma, and many other, forceful men and women with capacity, they began to mentor me, to lead me on what it means to do this work, because they begin to see what I was seeing. Because every time they publish a book, I say there is no conversation around disability issues, and they say it's correct. That was how we had to change the name of our organization from Amputee Rehabilitation Foundation to Center for Citizens with Disabilities. Ladies and gentlemen, there are different models of disability, and these models of disability represent the way we treat disability issues in our community. One of the first models we use as a people to address disability issues is what we call religious or traditional model of disability. The religious model or traditional model of disability postulate that people with disability suffer disability by reason of the sins they committed. Therefore, for them to recover, they should confess, or sacrifice should be made to the gods, so that they will be able to come back or accepted or regain their lives. So people who promote religious model of disability, what they do is that when they see people with disabilities, they pray, they do fasting, they do anointing service, they do a healing program. In fact, when they want to do crusade, what we'll be hearing is that the lame will walk, the blind will see, the deaf will hear. But is that what people with disabilities want? No, that's not what they want. That's not what they want. So if you go to church, if they say stretch out your hand, every church member will be targeting the person with disability. And when they stretch your hand, if your hand didn't come, they start substituting you that this one. they begin to suspect you that your sin is too much, and your faith is very weak. That is why you are not. So because of that, people with disabilities, they don't go to church. You don't see them in churches, because they feel that they'll be target of prayer request. At the traditional way, the traditional people, they will ostracize you, they will stigmatize you. Your parents will not have a voice in the community. If they want to discuss you, they say, "Hey, mama nka na ahozo. Hey, papa nka nwanne na ahozo. Onka mpa ya na enwe aka." So they will not call you by your name. They will call you with your type of disability. Am I mentioned that before? You've heard it before, So that's what that's how they describe you. So that model believes that if they make sacrifice, if you confess your sin, or if they do anointing service or deliverance, disability will not occur again. That one is there. The limitation is that it promotes stigma, it promotes exclusion, it also promotes other harmful practices. Then there is another model of disability which we call medical model. The medical model of disability postulates that every disability has a medical solution. Every disability has a medical solution. So you are not seeing where we bring contact lens, we bring all manner of operation. They will take you to one surgical doctor or the other. In fact, your family will know all the doctors in Enugu that can operate the eyes, because they believe that with medical model you can be able to recuperate and gain your sight or your limb or your whatever type of disability you're undergoing. Yes, medical can support, medical can help. Science is increasing. But the issue is that when families focuses on all this without paying attention to other related issues, the individual will probably suffer stigma, discrimination, and other harmful practices. The barrier will continue to increase day by day. And the model of disability, which we also provide and other people uses it, is a social model of disability. The social model of disability postulates that it is the society that makes people with disabilities to struggle in life. That if societies are able to remove the barrier that hinder people with disabilities, that people with disabilities will be able to participate and enjoy freedom, liberty, and contribute to the socio-economic development. So the social model postulates that we all must take responsibility for the pain and agony and the barrier people with disabilities faces. So the question is, when you go to church, when you go to school, what barrier do you see that hinder people with disabilities that you need to remove? We'll be discussing this barrier. Then the other model, which we also use, is the right-based approach. The right-based approach postulates that we should treat people with disabilities with dignity and respect. That they have right to education, right to health, right to rehabilitation, right to community life, right to access to public infrastructure, communication, name it, all the rights. That is right-based approach. So if you apply right-based approach and social model of disability, you will discover that people with disabilities will be able to participate in the society on equal basis. The question is, what are the hurdles that people with disabilities suffer in their? Don't relate with him. It is that promotes stigma. It is that promotes isolation. It is that attitude, because attitude you can't see it. So attitude is a very wicked, barrier that makes people with disabilities to struggle in life. It says that people with disabilities struggle to participate in the society due to lack of access. So I've told them that they should go and review it. That place is a suicide joint. But when you have RAM, access is beyond RAM. It's beyond what? How will she do it? Just look at your church toilet. All of us go to church. Am I correct? We go to church. We go to school. We go to work. Just look at your either your office or your school or your office where you work. Look at the toilet. Ask yourself, if this my comrade on wheelchair enter your office, if she says she's pressed, where can she use your restroom? So if the restroom is not accessible, there is no access. So I want you to pay attention to it, because when we say we are the one causing this difficulty people with disabilities are going through, look at yourself and hold yourself to account. That is environmental barrier. There's another barrier called institutional barrier. What do I call it? Institutional barrier is, I heard when Festus was saying, we have laws, but are not implementing it. It's beyond law. So when organizations do not have law, do not have a policy that speaks and say, in this organization, we don't discriminate by reason of disability. If you don't have such statement, if you don't have such value in your organization, if you don't have such statement in societies where you belong, there is institutional barrier. Because institutional barrier postulates that you should have law, you should have policy, you should have guidelines that ensures that no one is discriminated, no one is blocked, no one suffer barrier by reason of disability. Then the other barrier or hurdle people with disabilities struggle is communication barrier. What do I call it? Communication barrier. Communication barrier has to do with ability to communicate. You can see this fine lady beside me here. She is communicating to the deaf community, and the deaf community is hearing what I'm saying, because there is a sign language interpreter interpreting to her. The blind community wants to hear, wants to understand, wants to feel, wants to know what is going on within the environment. So to a blind person, he needs audio. He wants to hear what you are saying. He needs description of the environment so that he can be able to hear, to communicate, and be able to fit in within the society. So if we're able to understand how this barrier manifests in different areas of our work, then you will understand why the laws we have are very, very important. The reason is because we have, as he mentioned earlier, the United Nations Declaration of Human and People's Rights, including the UN Convention, the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act, the Nigerian Constitution, as well as state disability laws. All they are saying is remove barrier. That's what they are saying. All these laws, they are saying remove barrier, remove barrier, remove barrier, and ensure that people with disabilities are able to participate and be able to enjoy the benefits others are enjoying. And when these barriers are removed, what are we going to get? What we are going to get is that you will see more people with disabilities participating, contributing. You will see the burden of taking care of that person with disabilities lifted, reduced in their family. You only see, improved socio-economic status of these people with disabilities. You can see Festus. He's learned. He has gone to school. He works. He earns. So he takes care of other people, not just for himself, but he takes care of other people. Unlike other people that are not privileged to go to school or being lifted, every members of their family are involved in taking care of them. Today, Chichi will take care. Next tomorrow, Chukwu will take care. The other day, Ifeanyi will handle, because the individual is not able to live independently like every other person. And that thing is that it increases poverty. It increases what? It increases what? Because disability causes poverty. The cost of taking care of one person with disability is so high. Do you know the artificial hand I'm using now? This artificial hand, when I bought it in 2003, it was 5 million naira in 2003. But today, it's 28 million naira. 28 million. So even if you go to a governor and say, hey, Mr. Governor, I want you to help me to buy artificial hand. Immediately you tell him how much. You say 28 million naira. The first thing he will remember, I can use it to mobilize people to vote for me. I can use that 28 million naira to do empowerment. Hey, you want me to give it to only you? I don't think it's possible, though. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's how politicians think. That's how they think. So it's so when we are able to open barrier, allow people to participate, allow them to be part of the society, the burden of taking care of them is highly reduced, and the life become more easier for them to participate. Ladies and gentlemen, you may ask, what are we doing? And say, Mr. David, they say you are commission chairman. What are you doing in Abia State in order to change the status quo for people with disabilities? We discovered that passing the law is one. And that is to understand the law. And that is to take action in order to ensure the full implementation of the law. So in my state, I'm so privileged to have a governor. His name is Dr. Alex Choma Oti. What he did was to establish the Commission for People with Disabilities. Not only establishing it, in fact, in his manifesto, when he was campaigning, the key statement he made is that he wants people with disabilities to participate in leadership positions. So for people with disabilities to participate in leadership position, there are a lot of things to put in place to make that to happen. One of them is to appoint a special advisor or assistant to him on persons with disabilities. And that was the first thing he did when he came to office. Beyond that, he went further to ensure that the Disability Commission is also established with 5 persons with disabilities appointed as board members. As I speak to you, the board is running. The board also, the commission has a budget, because one thing is to understand disability issues, one thing is to understand the law, one thing is to know what to do, but if the government do not make budget for its implementation, it can't go far. We've seen different states that have disability commissions, but there is no budget. You can imagine a commission that their annual budget is 500,000 naira. What are you going to use it to do? You can't even pay flight ticket from Owerri to Abuja and come back. You know what that means. So what that means is that it's just on the paper, that much is not being done. So I'm privileged to work with a governor who prioritizes inclusion, who prioritizes equal opportunity, who prioritizes participation. So today, we've trained the permanent secretaries in Abia State on disability law, on how to make budget and implement it in favor of people with disabilities. We've not only ended there, we've also trained the local government chairmen, because we discovered that many people with disabilities are living in the rural area. They struggle to meet with their the councilmen to get understand. Even the councilmen do not understand. So we said we're also going to build their own capacity. So we have to build the capacity of the chairman of local government. Not only building their capacity on their role and responsibility, but also building their capacity on how to make budget for artificial hand, for wheelchair, for white cane, for interpreters, for accessible environment, so that by the time they start their work, we won't be building again when they are building. If you are building a house and you make provision for that, you won't struggle to redo it again. So they bought into it, and in fact, they are sending me text messages that, Mr. David, what we've said, we're implementing it, because I told them that if they do it well, I'm going to send their name to the UN so that the UN to come and see the good practice they are doing and be able to leave their work for international visibility. And it became a competition among themselves. Everybody's trying to see how he can bring out something or the other so that we can use it to showcase that they are doing very well. But beyond that, also we are creating awareness, because we discovered that people are not aware about what we are talking about. Just recently, we are focusing on children with intellectual disability. Our budget for 2025 is 35% for health and education. Then we say if we are having 35% for health and education, and health and educational practitioners do not understand disability issues, it's going to be a minus for us. So what we are doing now is that we are training supervisory counselors on education and health, teachers and healthcare service providers in the local government across the state on disability inclusion. Just yesterday, we finished with 3 local governments where the health workers, educational supervisors, and other service providers on inclusion and disability, so that they will be able, as children are coming in to register, when they see a child with disability, they will be able to recognize it. They will be able to know what to do, how to position it. If nurses or doctors see people with disabilities, they know what to do. Let me tell you why engaging the doctors and nurses is very important. When women with disabilities go to hospital, they suffer much, especially if they have hearing impairment or they are on wheelchair, especially when they are pregnant. Some nurses can be rude. Not this one that I hear. You hear all this issue. Hey, who did this thing to you? Hey, the man that pregnant you, that man is a wicked man. So everybody is entitled to it. And before you know it, many even childbirth. A typical example is my colleague in the company. So capacity building, training of stakeholders within the government is critical. Therefore, clubs say about people with disabilities. Of the 8th grade, the constitution of the town union, please, it's time for us to review it. And
the Center for Memories for always organizing this monthly event. It's very sacred and very sacrosanct that we have conversations like this. The Ford Foundation for a sacred call to everybody. In fact, in my village, we have our own construct of it. I'm from Omugwo, and we say, that if you're privileged to have a spoon to eat with, you must also remember that there are those who are using their hands to eat. Although I've queried that sometimes, because I ask if there's a competition, an eating competition, I would rather use my hands to eat than to use a spoon, because I know I would, get a lot of muscles down there quickly. And yes, just to follow Angole's advice, Yagaze Obiwanne is a tall, dark, am I very tall? Somebody said very tall. Experience of our society for those who are living with special needs. So